Davidson Figueiredo and Joseph Benavidez, it almost seems like a couple of months ago when I was talking about this particular fight. And it's because it was a couple of months ago when I was initially recapping this fight and the brutal TKO that Davidson Figueiredo obviously, uh, gave on Joseph Benavidez. That fight didn't have a conclusion because Davidson missed weight. Let's fast forward all the way here, and now we're here. Both fighters making weight, and both fighters coming in with different narratives in terms of what was happening. The controversy being the little head clash. Let's park that to the side and get to the fight. If I could recap, to me, the biggest element of this fight is that speed kills. And obviously, with the flyweights, the lightest weight division in the UFC, these guys are exceptionally quick with their movements. But even amongst these men, Davidson stands head and shoulders above that pack. And obviously, he's now the flyweight king in the UFC. So let's recap how this was done, because this was a relatively quick fight. It didn't necessarily go there. Look, both entrants squared onto the octagon. Davidson immediately taking the center of the octagon. And the thing is, Davidson, as a natural striker, he has really good ringmanship in terms of encompassing that. And I believe that this was the position that he encompassed in the first fight as well. For the majority of these two fights, Benavidez was fighting against the cage. Nothing changed here. The fight starts off with Joseph, with a couple of leg strikes, just establishing the distance there. Davidson throwing a bit of a flashy turnaround kick, again, potentially establishing distance here. And the first significant strike of the fight comes quite out of nowhere. Like I looked at it a couple of times and replayed it, and I think Joseph was going for a kick, and at the same time, Davidson went for a hook right into the noggin of Joseph and knocked him down straight away. I think, interestingly enough, obviously, the two men have a different stature difference. Davidson being a little bit taller, because it wasn't like he was lunging. It really looked, and this is where I made this observation: speed kills. Joseph seemed just a tad slower, and in that the opposite direction, Davison just seemed that tad quicker, especially in the exchanges. Look, there's no doubt that when Davison at this weight class and potentially at a weight class higher above hits, people go down. Joseph went down, and quickly Davison was there impounding some levels of grounded pound. I think it was a little bit on side control, went into the guard and was raining elbows and straight punches. And interestingly enough, Joseph gave, whether within the scramble, whether it was intentional or not, obviously the heat coming from the top of Davison's direction had something to do with it. But Joseph turned around and gave his back relatively quickly. And I think, interestingly enough, we saw in this card a lot of very slick submissions. Obviously, Hermanson prior to that. So look, he gave his back, and thus started the beginning of a fair amount of choke defenses by the great Joseph Benavidez, and man, wasn't he very impressive there. Say what you want about Joseph, but he does not give up, and we saw this here. Look, the first choke wasn't really underneath the neck, so like while he was cranking it was relatively early in the fight. Joseph kind of fought that off. I think there was another scramble, and the second one, I'm absolutely surprised that Davison didn't finish him, because he was really under. He was cranking it there, but the will of Joseph Benavidez, and again, it cannot be understated how tough this guy is to not lose. He peeled it out, and they were able to walk against the cage to get both parties up. And again, they were on neutral. They were on their legs, and it was interesting because at this point, we were obviously in awe at Joseph Benavidez's ability to stuff these two attempts on a choke, and they were close. They were really close, but at this stage, I think Davison was really fighting with a head of steam in terms of the confidence levels. Look, there were a couple of leg kicks, but then again, another hook. This time at the end of his combinations, and pow, Joseph was to the ground again. And here to me was the beginning of, look, even if Joseph survives this round, he's clearly getting outclassed in the feet. And for some reason, Davidson just seemed that fraction quicker. And speed kills. Speed kills in any weight class. But man, in this weight class, there's a real explosion in terms of the striking ability of Davison, and this was really encapsulated in this particular fight. again, it was relatively similar in that, they went to the ground. And the thing about Davison is when he's on top of you, he is going for the finish. It was, raining levels of elbows there. They got up, and to me, this is where it became academic, and then it just seemed like on the feet. Not only was Davison touching Joe quite frequently, but every time he would, land on Joe with any semblance of significance, it would flatten Joe. Look, there was a quick overhand right. Joe went to the ground. Davidson did levels of damage there, and again, Joe slept under, gave his back. Davidson got under the chin, and look, that was it. It was over. I think the totality of it, and if I can't remember, I don't think Joe even tapped out. Like, he's a stubborn guy, and he showed the heart of a champion here. But man, conclusive victory by Davison in all facets. Did he win this fight? On the feet, he looked phenomenal. Speed personified, like an Ultra Super Saiyan there. On the ground, he showed like good levels of ground and pound. I mean, he choked the guy out, so he submitted him. There's nothing you can ask for there. So look, this was a really conclusive fight. There's no way that you can say this was a controversial decision. And there was a lot of emotion at the end of it from Davidson's end. And look, it thus ends the conclusion of the new flyweight king. I mean, obviously we had Henry leaving the division and all those things accompanying, and now we do have a solidified champ, and it sounds like he wants to be an active champ. We had individuals fighting earlier in the card that probably lay claim to potentially the throne in terms of a next opponent. But look, happy for Davison. Overall, a pretty good card. Jack Hermanson with an extremely slick submission to end Kelvin Gastelum for the night. That was an ultra quick fight, and I didn't think warranted much of an analysis. But look, guys, that's my analysis of this particular fight. What do you think? How impressive was Davison to you? And barring Henry re-entering the mix, do you think he has a legitimate challenger over here? Because in my picking, the flyweight division is relatively thin. No offense to any of the guys there, because obviously anyone that steps into the octagon is really tough and warrants that level of respect. So guys, leave some comments below, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Your support is needed. Thanks, and chat soon. Peace.